Hello, everybody. Happy day. So I just had church this morning and we were singing some songs. You know how you hear something and you've heard it so many times and then something hits you? And that's kind of what happened with one of the songs. So I thought we'd have a deeper chat, because I thought there were several parts of this that are so, I don't know, they so hit my heart. And I just thought I would share a bit. So you get cozied up. And I'll get cozied up and we'll have a good chat. So this is not one of the songs that I led. It was my friend Kristen that led it. And the song is called Abandoned. Who's it by? Benjamin William Hastings. Okay, and we've sang the song several times before. The first thing that hit me was right there in the first verse. It says, I gave you my worst, you gave your blood. And on the cross, when Jesus died for us, he died knowing our sin, like knowing our filth, knowing how wretched we were. And yet he did it anyway. And it sounds crazy, and it's just like, how could you, knowing all the junk, all of the bad things, all of the sin of our lives, how could you, in your kindness, step on a cross, allow yourself to be nailed to a cross when you very could have easily, as the Son of God, taken yourself off and freed yourself? You chose it anyway. And he so wanted to not, he spent that whole time in the garden going, oh, Father, please, if you can take this cup from me. And it was very stressful and it was very, difficult for him, but he knew that he had to do it in order to set us free. So the line says, you're telling me you chose the cross. You're telling me I'm worth that much. If that's the measure of your love, how else would I sing? But this is how I would sing. I would sing completely, deeply, sold out, sincerely abandoned. When I first decided that I was going to follow Jesus, I don't think I knew a whole lot, but I know that God was drawing me. That whole summer before 8th grade started, we had moved, but there was something inside me. I think I shared with you before. I had this bookshelf and I had a little offering thing on it. I had no money. Like where's the offering coming from? Where's it going? And then I had my little Bible that I got, and I got it in like the 3rd grade. And I wanted to pray and I wanted to talk to God. And I don't necessarily know that I knew what to do. I didn't know what to do. But I think in his kindness, he was just drawing me into a life following him and serving him. And when I stepped into our new church after we moved, it was just like all the pieces came together. And I realized, wow, this is what I want to do with my life. But looking at it and going completely, deeply sold out, sincerely abandoned. You ask some of my friends in high school, they're like, yeah, Megan, you were really crazy. I think I calmed down, but I wanted everybody to know Jesus. I wanted your grandma, I wanted your dog. Everybody was coming to church. Everybody was gonna know Jesus. And I was really zealous for the things of God. Still, I feel zealous for the things of God, but it's just that innocence of really not knowing and feeling incredibly free. I wanted everybody to know about this God who had come into my life and just set me free and made me new. This next part, I think, is one of the bigger parts that hit me. And it says, my one life endeavor to match your surrender, to mirror not my will, but yours. It's really easy to think, there was a teaching for a while, and I don't know if it's still out there, of saying, God wants to partner with you and come alongside you. But I don't think Jesus died so he could come alongside us. He died so that we could be made new and then follow him, right? And surrender our will and surrender our wants and our desires to his. And not so that we can just live this horrible life and have nothing good in it and just give up everything good, but to say, not my will, but yours be done. Because if God can be confined and reduced to this little box that I can understand and I can manipulate to make it do what I want, and I can pray this way and this is going to happen, and I can say this thing and this is going to happen, then really I'm not serving a God that is big and that sees the whole picture and that is greater than I am. So when we surrender our will, and we say, it's not my will, but yours be done, we are really saying, you are God, not me, not the image of God that I think you should be, but you are God, and your ways are mysterious, and your ways, I don't get them sometimes, like a lot of times, but you're worth following and you're worth trusting. I talked to somebody years ago, and they were really kind of trying to talk me out of believing and maybe trying to kind of I don't know, mess with my mind or whatever. And I said, I definitely don't know all the answers, not even close. I am no theologian. I don't know all the things, but one thing I can say is that the experience I've had of Jesus and how he set me free and he gave me joy and he brought life to my dead bones. I cannot be unconvinced of that. And so while I may not have all of the answers and not everything makes sense, and I can't give you the theological blah, blah, blah of this and this, what I do know is what I have experienced and how I have sensed his nearness to me in my dark times. And I have known him to speak to my heart in ways that only made sense that God could do, and to make a way where there was no way, absolutely no possible way that something could happen. And then God came in his kindness and in his graciousness, came and offered me love and truth and a way where there was no way. And so he says, my long life endeavor to match your surrender, to mirror not my will but yours. I think that's kind of a scary thing to say, to match your surrender, because Jesus gave everything. Because on the cross, he laid aside everything. He laid aside his desire to not be on the cross. He laid aside really that connection with God. He said, God, why have you abandoned me? Why have you forsaken me? And he had to go through incredible torture and pain. And that is a big surrender. That is a big surrender. Not to say that we're all called to live this physical suffering or this physical sacrifice. There are some that have been martyred for Jesus, and that's amazing. And wow, what a testimony to that. But are you willing to die to your perception of how life should be? And are you willing to sacrifice your own desires and wants? Not in a cultish way. We have brains. God gave us brains, we don't need to be foolish. Although sometimes in those young, zealous years, you kind of feel like, just going to give everything. And, it's kind of a crazy time. But to match his surrender and to say, I'm willing to go where you lead, and I'm willing to walk a small life and to have a small handprint, a small footprint in the world, and nobody know my name and nobody following after me, but I'm following after you. I don't know if that makes sense, because I grew up in an era where we were told that we're going to go big for God and we've got to do big things and God's going to use us and we're going to, take over the world for Jesus. So doing the small everyday things just never seemed right. It never seemed good enough. And there was this constant sort of, when rocks are shredding together and it's just this doesn't feel good, nails on a chalkboard, and you never feel rest. You never feel that peace. You're always thinking, what am I doing, God? What do I got to do today? I want to follow after you. I want to follow after you. And he's saying, just wake up and do the next thing. That's it. Living that small life is pleasing to me. If no one ever knows your name, if you don't do big things, if you didn't save your whole family today, if you didn't do all the things that you think you should do when you were out and about, if you'll just settle down and live in the smallness of my love, you will find so much peace in that. And I have found, and there was a big struggle in me for years and years and years of going, I'm surrendered, God, I'll do whatever you want. And he's like, will you just wash the dishes? Will you just care for your children? Will you just say hello to somebody at church or hello to somebody at the grocery store? Can you do the small things? And it took so long. But once I came to that realization that it doesn't have to be me going big and doing huge things and taking over the world, there was so much peace in that. And going to work at a normal job that wasn't some big crazy thing was okay. Or being a stay-at-home mom and taking care of my children was okay. Or being, maybe just being somebody that came and opened the door for people at church. That could be more than enough. I lived in that place of I have to do more and I'm never doing enough. And there was a point in my life where I was literally leading worship for 2 different congregations. I just had a baby. I was helping take care of my mom who was sick, and I was newly married. I was trying to maintain my house and help where I could with like my sisters and help my dad, just be like helpful in some way, shape, or form. And in all of that striving and all of that doing, I never once felt like it was enough. And now on this side of things, I feel such a relief that waking up and doing the dishes and working, doing my work and taking care of my children and, connecting with my husband and doing small things that I can at church actually feels more restful than it ever did in all of the things that I was doing before. And so my one life endeavor to match your surrender, whatever God is calling us to, and it doesn't have to be like this, just do the day, just wake up and do the day and, one step at a time. It doesn't have to be this sort of, there's no magic formula, right? There's no magic formula. It's just do life. And as things come along, ask God in all of his kindness and in all of his wisdom to help you and to be near and to walk you through the days. So to mirror not my will, but yours. So much of my life, I think I was trying to bend God's will to mine. Well, I desire this, God. So if I read the Bible just like this, or if I sing these songs, or I pray just like this, or if I give like this, then God, it's like I'm putting money into a bank expecting this return. It's almost like a twisted way, of experiencing things and thinking, if I do all these things, God, then I'm going to do big things for you, or then you're going to give me these things that I'm asking for. And so my prayer life has really changed, because no longer am I saying, okay, I want all of these things to happen and I want you to move in the way that I see fit. But I stopped trying to really manipulate God to do what I wanted him to do. And when I stopped doing that, because I always felt unfulfilled, I always wanted this thing or whatever. I always felt really unfulfilled. And so I was really irritated by that. And when I stopped doing that, I just feel so much contentment saying, your will, God, your will, whatever you desire, that's what I want. My dog, George, he's a mini Aussie Doodle. And, Australian Shepherds are all about leading the little sheep, they're like little dogs trying to, and so he has that tendency when we walk to be very much like, okay, we're going to go this way and we're doing this. And guess what? That makes him, he's like this the whole time. And when we used to take the kids on a walk, he was just always trying to shepherd them. It was very frustrating because then he'd get in front of them and he just seemed out of sorts. And then when we decided, hey, we're going to be the boss, you're going to be the dog, and you're going to follow us. We're the pack leader, right? Walks are so much more enjoyable, and he's not just so back and forth, kind of like frantic. He's calm. And I think it's the same way with God. We don't have to do all the things. He's got it. We just follow him. So I loved that line. To mirror not my will, but yours. Oh, yes. And then this next verse says, I just can't get over it. What kind of self-control is this? You had angels at your fingertips, but on the cross you remained. He remained in his suffering because he knew that it was for God's glory. Jesus was experiencing so much torment, and yet he remained because he knew for God's glory he laid there on the cross. There was an ultimate purpose and an ultimate good for that, and it was to see us free. He knew that. I can't repay the kind of love, but I can praise with everything I've got. Since death had all his power robbed, when Jesus was on the cross and he died and he conquered death, and death had lost all of its power. The Bible says, for the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life. We were dead in our sin, and yet Jesus came and he set us free to bring life. We were dead and he brought us back to life. And for some people, that's like really real. Like they were in the depths and they had nothing and they were at the end of the end. And then Jesus came and they're like, it seems big and it seems just such a turnaround, and it's so incredible to see their life. But you also, in your day-to-day life were dead to sin. And then he came and brought life in the midst of just you're doing your stuff, you're grocery storing, and you're driving here and there, and you're working, and your relationships with family. And he came in that dead place and brought life, which is quite beautiful. In the bridge, it says, the failures I hide, the victories I don't, the battles I fight, each crown that I hoard. And I thought, man, isn't it easy to hide our failures? We don't want people to see that, right? Because it's ugly. And it's humiliating and it's embarrassing, and we want to be strong. Especially as Americans, we want to be seen as strong. We've got it together, you know? And I was like, we just don't. People, we don't have it together. And so we try to hide those things. But then the victories, we want to shout it from the mountaintops. We want everybody to know, man, I was really good at this, I was really good at that, and woo, I'm so awesome. And then it says, the battles that I fight, we don't always want people to know those battles that we fight. We want to keep that to ourselves because it makes us seem small and weak. But I love what it says in God's word. It says, in my weakness, he is made strong. And blessed are those who are poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. The Sermon on the Mount is so beautiful when he says, blessed are those who are poor in spirit. Listen, you're not strong. You're weak. Things are not good. Blessed are you, for yours is the kingdom. So if you feel weak, if you feel like you don't have anything to offer, you're blessed. All that to say, when you feel weak and you're small and you're insignificant, I always pray that you would know the nearness of God, that you would sense him so close. And then when you feel poor in spirit, that you would realize you are that much closer to the kingdom of heaven. And it's not the strong, it's not the mighty, it's not the ones that have got it all right that know God the most. Oftentimes it's the person who's walked through the pain and the valleys of life, who has been poor in spirit at some point. They've been so dependent on him. So the failures I hide, the victories I don't, the battles I fight, the crown, each crown that I hoard, consider it yours, God. So we offer it back up and say, you know, good things come our way. And there are moments of victories, and there's battles, and there is hard times, and there are good times, but I just give it all up to you. Every crown, every battle that I've won or lost, every victory, every failure, I just give it to you and say, consider it yours. Consider it yours, God. You get all the glory forever. It says, the grave that you won, the praise of the heavens, the kingdom to come, consider it yours. Not my will, but yours be done. When I am weak, you are strong, and I don't have to try to fight, and I don't have to try to figure it out. I can rest in you. And then it ends with, I'm completely, deeply sold out, sincerely abandoned, and I'm completely, freely, hands to the ceiling, enamored, my one life endeavor to match your surrender, to mirror not my will but yours. I'm completely, deeply, don't care who sees me abandoned. No, I surrender all. There's living a life of surrender means every day we just continue to surrender. Because as humans, I think our natural tendency is to go, this is mine, and I will do it my way, and I will make life work, and I will do what I want. And so there is this lifestyle of surrender that says, okay, like when I take George for a walk, I got to remind him, I'll be the boss. I be the boss. And once he knows I be the boss, he relaxes into that. But I have to remind him often. And as we're walking, sometimes I have to do, no. You're not pulling this sled, my friend. Walk next to me and you'll find peace. Rather than trying to pull. I gotta have my way. I gotta go where I wanna go. I gotta do what I wanna do. So I loved this. It was just so great. And oftentimes these songs are just such a beautiful prayer, I think, back to God, and cause the heart to think and cause the mind to think through exactly what it is. Like this Christian life is not easy. This Christian life is done best surrendered. Done best saying, you can have your way, and I will take a back seat. I'll be at the back of the bus and let you drive this, because I will mess it up in and of myself. I'm really good at that. But you, who knows the whole plan, who knows my future, if I can just rest in you and just be a rider along on this trip, then I'm going to see peace in my life. And I'm going to see just rest. Somebody said that this year, I was listening to a YouTube video of somebody that I follow, and they said, you know what my goal is this year is just inner peace. Inner peace. How do we find inner peace? To stop the striving and the doing and all the things, and like be content to say, yeah, waking up and doing the small things, really, that's it. That's it. When I was a kid and I'd see people coming in and they go to be great speakers and great musicians and all this, and I thought, oh, you know, that's what I've got to be. And it was just so painful to constantly be going, I got to do that. And, you know, never being able to just rest and say, I don't have to do all of that. If it happens, awesome. Be a good worker, you know, be a studious person. Learn what you've got to learn. But be at rest, and it's a beautiful place to be. And I'm sure I'll have to remind myself of that a lot. How about you? So thanks for hanging out with me, guys, and having my little chit chat today. I thought it was just wonderful. We get to sing these songs about 4 times on a Sunday. Once we do like one quick run through to make sure all the sound is good from our last practice. And then we have 3 services that we sing at. So each time it I don't know, it gets like deeper in your heart, and you just think, oh yeah, I'm completely, deeply, sold out, sincerely abandoned. My one life endeavor to match your surrender to mirror not my will but yours. I'm completely, deeply, don't care who sees me abandoned. Oh, I surrender all. So I pray you find peace and surrender. I pray you find peace in the smallness of life. And I pray that God grants you his incredible wisdom, that you would follow in his ways, and that you would sense him ever so near to you. Have an amazing day, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Toodaloo!